You've heard of people who seem to always get their way. They walk into a room and it's like everything bends to their will. But what's really happening behind the scenes? How do they have that kind of influence over others? In this video, we're going to break down the mind control secrets used by some of the world's most dangerous manipulators. Let's start with a powerful example. Adolf Hitler. His speeches didn't just appeal to people's logic, he reached deep into their emotions. One of the reasons he was so effective was because he knew how to tap into people's fears, pride, and insecurities. Hitler didn't just tell Germans what to think. He made them feel anger toward their enemies, pride in their heritage, and fear of being overpowered by other nations. So how can you apply this? Emotions are the real drivers of decision-making. Most people are driven by fear. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, or fear of losing control. For example, think about how many people are terrified of being judged by others. You can use this in conversations by subtly highlighting these insecurities to guide someone's actions. If someone is afraid of missing out on a great opportunity, you can emphasize the urgency or scarcity of a situation to nudge them in a direction you want. In negotiations, for instance, figure out what the other person values most. Are they afraid of financial loss? Do they fear looking incompetent? Once you know this, frame your argument in a way that pushes those emotional buttons. Appeal to their need for security or social status. Use words and tones that either calm or heighten their fears, depending on the outcome you're aiming for. Now, let's look at Bernie Madoff. He didn't scam people through force, he built trust over time. Madoff presented himself as an authority figure in the financial world, someone who was not just reliable, but indispensable. He created the perception that only he had the expertise to manage people's wealth. That's why no one questioned him when he asked for massive investments. So how do you build this kind of trust? One way is to establish yourself as an authority in your field, whatever it may be. People naturally follow those who appear to know what they're doing. It's human nature to seek guidance from those who seem like experts. Suppose you're in a business and you want someone to follow your lead. If you're confident in your presentation and act as though you're in control of the situation, people will be more likely to trust your opinion. To take this further, use small psychological tricks like dressing well, adopting powerful body language, and consistently showing that you've done your research. Over time, these small details create a perception of authority. And once people trust you, they'll follow your advice almost automatically. Charles Manson was known for his ability to control his followers, not because he had all the answers, but because people thought he did. He carefully cultivated an air of mystery. One of the key ways he did this was by staying silent at crucial moments. When he spoke, it was with purpose. But just as important, he knew when not to speak. By saying less, he made people fill in the blanks with their own ideas, often assuming he had deeper insights than he actually did. How can you apply this? In any conversation or negotiation, silence can be a powerful tool. When you pause, people start to wonder what you're thinking. This often gives you more control over the direction of the interaction. People hate awkward silences, so they'll often rush to fill it with information, sometimes information that can be useful to you. For example, imagine you're in a conversation where someone is trying to convince you of something. Instead of replying immediately, stay silent and watch them become increasingly anxious. They might start over-explaining, giving away details they hadn't planned to share. This can shift the power dynamic in your favor. In your everyday life, try being more comfortable with silence. Whether in a meeting, a negotiation, or even a casual conversation, let pauses do the heavy lifting. You'll notice people often reveal more than they intended when they feel the pressure of silence. Frank Abagnale, the con man behind Catch Me If You Can, managed to impersonate professionals like doctors and pilots, not because he had any actual qualifications, but because he acted with unshakable confidence. People trusted him because he projected certainty in everything he did. Here's the thing about confidence. Most people are uncertain in their actions. They're looking for someone who seems sure of themselves, someone who can give them direction. If you can project confidence, people will assume you know what you're doing, even if you don't. For example, suppose you're asked to lead a project at work. If you walk into the meeting acting unsure, people will sense that, and they'll be hesitant to follow your lead. But if you act like you've got everything under control, even if you're still figuring it out, people will fall in line. They won't question you as much, and you'll have the upper hand. Practice acting the part. Even if you're nervous, adopt a strong posture, make eye contact, and speak with certainty. Over time, this will become second nature, and people will naturally look to you for leadership. Confidence alone can carry you through situations where others might falter. Finally, let's look at Jim Jones, the cult leader behind the Jonestown Massacre. Jones controlled his followers by isolating them, making them completely dependent on him for everything. When people feel they have no one else to turn to, they'll cling to the person who provides for their needs, whether it's emotional, financial, or otherwise. So how can you apply this tactic in a more practical way? It's not about literally isolating people, but understanding that when someone becomes reliant on you, they'll be much more willing to go along with what you want. For example, think about your relationships. Are you the person others turn to when they have a problem? If you consistently provide solutions, whether it's advice, emotional support, or practical help, you're creating a sense of dependence. Over time, people will naturally start to look to you as a leader, someone they trust to guide them. You can start building this dynamic by positioning yourself as a problem solver in your group, workplace, or even your friendships. Be the one people turn to when they're unsure, and soon they'll feel like they need your input to make decisions. The more dependent they become, the more control you'll have over the direction of those relationships. So, what we've covered are powerful mind control techniques used by some of history's most dangerous manipulators. Whether through emotional influence, authority, silence, confidence, or dependence, these tactics give you a unique advantage in guiding the decisions and actions of others. Good or evil, those labels are up to interpretation. What matters here is how you choose to use these tools. Understanding them means you can not only protect yourself from being manipulated, but also use these techniques to influence the world around you. Remember, these tactics are all around us, being used in advertising, politics, and everyday interactions. Now, you have the knowledge to recognize them and use them to your advantage. If this breakdown helped you understand the psychology behind mind control, drop a comment below and don't forget to subscribe for more insights on influence, manipulation, and mastering your interactions with others. And I'll see you in the next video.